Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. Happy Friday, and thank you for listening to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast for however long you've been a listener. I'm pleased to announce that you've downloaded the podcast 1 million times, and that's a huge milestone. Very few podcasts in the world achieve 1 million downloads. In celebration of achieving 1 million downloads, we're going to be holding a contest in the next week with lots of amazing prizes. The draw will be held on November 1st, and the lucky winners will be announced also on November 1st. We've got all kinds of prizes, including signed copies of my book, Magnetic Capital. We have Real Estate Espresso Podcast coffee cups, and you can listen to the podcast drinking your morning coffee. And if you listen to the podcast at the gym, we have prizes of some really lovely stainless steel water bottles. To enter, send an email to contest@victorjm.com. That's contest@victorjm.com. On today's show, we're trying to make sense out of some of the latest statistics that are being reported in terms of national home sales. A new report yesterday in the Wall Street Journal reported that home sales rose to a new 14-year high in September, bolstered by robust demand and a shortage of homes for sale. It's making the housing market one of the brightest spots for the U.S. economy. Existing home sales rose 9.4% in September from August to a seasonally adjusted rate of 6.54 million. That's the highest rate since May of 2006. That's according to the National Association of Realtors. The September sales marked a 20.9% increase from a year earlier. The numbers from August were similarly glowing. August existing home sales were up 9.1% compared with 2019. All of this points to a booming housing market, one of the brightest spots in the economy. But there's a problem. Depending on how you slice and dice the data, you can construct a different narrative, a different explanation of what's happening. We all know that we went through an artificial downturn in housing sales in the spring. This was the result of widespread shutdowns of the economy and the shelter-in-place orders that were in effect for close to 90 days across major parts of the nation. And if you compare sales in the first 9 months of 2019 to the first 9 months of 2020, we have not yet in 2020 matched the sales volume of last year. In fact, the year to date, we've only sold 97.9% as many houses as compared with 2019, a reduction of 2.1%. So are we having a booming market, or are we just catching up from the shutdown in the spring? The number of sales in 2018 were higher than 2020. In 2017, they were higher. In 2016, they were higher. You would have to go back to 2015 to find a rate of home sales that are on par with the year-to-date numbers for 2020. Yes, we've had a strong recovery in home sales, but comparing September 2020 statistics to the same period last year makes no sense at all. It's not a reasonable comparison. It's a little bit like putting a dam in the middle of a flowing river, and then you open the dam and say, wow, look at how much water there is. Well, no kidding, Sherlock. It might be amazing how much water is flowing, but it's not surprising. The pundits that are used to reporting statistics a certain way are continuing to do so. Why? Well, because that's how they've always done it. Well, there's nothing normal about 2020 in any fashion. So if you're quoting statistics, you need to look at the big picture. And I'm tired of seeing weekly unemployment numbers being reported by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Fewer people filed for unemployment this week, so they conclude the economy is on the mend. These types of reports are ridiculous, to be frank. It's not just the National Association of Realtors who do this, and virtually every real estate board all over North America is quoting statistics in a very similar way. Why? Well, because that's how they've always done it. Even in my home city of Ottawa, Canada, the same thing is happening. Last week, the September numbers were published from my hometown. The numbers are amazing. Sales volumes are up 35.1% compared with the same month in 2019. Hooray! But if you zoom out and look at the big picture, sales volume year to date is down 4.9% compared with the same period in 2019. Now look, folks, I have no problem with taking a look at statistics. In fact, quite to the contrary, they can be very helpful in determining what's happening in the market. But when statistics are published, I urge you to apply your own thinking and analysis to what the numbers actually mean. Don't get me wrong, I don't think anyone's out to mislead you about what's happening in the market. I'm just saying don't accept a journalist's interpretation as the truth, because it may not be the entire picture. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.